Auntie, Grand Rising, Shalom, Shalom. I will call you directly after the video today. Auntie. All right, beautiful people. Happy Friday, happy Friday. It is July the 8th, 2022, day 152. I'm sorry. Huh? Okay. I'm sorry, not 152, day 153 of year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1,171. Today, we're picking back up on page 292 in Oahspe in the book of Cpenta-Armij, daughter of Jehovah. Hey, little baby. No, I see little light skin out here. Okay, y'all. All right. Father, we thank you for another day to search for truth and apply truth to our life. We enjoy daily growth. All right, y'all. Let's get to it. Chapter 10. The lords and lordesses gave not much labor to Cpenta-Armij, for they had long been high-raised gods and goddesses in other worlds and knew their parts as well. But to each heavenly place, Cpenta-Armij sent her heralds in advance, and the lords and lordesses in turn sent receiving escorts to meet the Arabagna. And when the chieftainess arrived, she was asked in the usual manner to honor the throne, and she thus sat on all the thrones, ruling in very person, and in her presence the voice of Jehovah spake in the light before the assembled council of the host, and it was thus fulfilled in the ark of Cpenta that the voice had circumscribed the whole earth. And when Cpenta-Armij was about to depart from each heavenly place, she always descended to the foot of the throne of the Lord and sat thereon. And the Lord went down and took her hand, saying, Arise, O goddess, and go thy way. The Father calleth thee. And then she would arise and depart to another lord or lordess in like manner. Cpenta-Armij took with her 3,000 angel scribes and recorders, 3,000 angel artists, 3,000 angel geologists and mineralogists, besides many others whose trade was to make reports of the lands of the earth and waters of the earth and the air above the earth with pictures thereof. Look, I didn't get a chance to yesterday, Alicia, but I will post today that chart that Oahspe College University sent to me in the email that gives the like the ranks and stuff and how long in each school each person the length of time each person has to spend, like whether it's 50 years or 200 years for the Lewis, and just the different ones like that. I thought it was really good. He pulled everything that he saw in here out. Actually, I say almost everything he pulled out from what I see so far. Okay, I'll read verse 3 again. Cpenta-Armij took with her 3,000 angel scribes and recorders, 3,000 angel artists, 3,000 angel geologists and mineralogists, besides many others whose trade was to make reports of the lands of the earth and the waters of the earth and the air above the earth with pictures thereof. Alicia, shalom, shalom. Jehovah had said to Cpenta-Armij, Thou shalt make reports of the land and water and air of the earth, and of all the living thereon and therein, with pictures thereof. 2 copies shalt thou make, and when the end of dawn is come, thou shalt take the 2 copies with thee in thy ascension to my ethereal worlds. 1 copy shalt thou put on record in the library of Oahspe, and the other copy thou shalt send to the Hyperis Council of the United Chiefs and Chieftainess for their own deliberations. Some of y'all think y'all getting away with stuff sneakily like. 2 pictures is being taken of you. Hold on. There is nothing that is done in secret that will not come to light eventually. I'll get to it eventually. Y'all probably haven't. This was a a a little children's sitcom on I think it was Nickelodeon. It could have been Nickelodeon. You know what? Or it could have been PBS. Every time I hear the word eventually, I think about that little cartoon because it was a little thing about procrastination. And every time her parents asked her to do something, she'd be like, I'll get to it eventually. Okay. For the Hyperis Council shall determine from this thy report what is good for the earth, as to whether she shall be changed in her course, or broken up and divided, or whether she needeth Aji or Dan, and they shall send out road makers to that end, or send vortices against her vortex to break it or rule over it, according to my light upon them. And after them, there is reference letter C at the bottom. So we jump to page 301, and C says, the implication here is quite clear. Nothing that happens to the earth in terms of light and darkness is by chance. All events, including periods of light or corporal darkness, are predetermined. All such preparations and actions are carried out by high raised angels. Let me read this whole verse again. Okay. I'll read verse 4 again. No, let me go back to 3, and then I'll read that reference one more time, all together without breaking it up. Okay. Cpenta-Armij took with her 3,000 angel scribes and recorders, 3,000 angel artists, 3,000 angel geologists and mineralogists, besides many others whose trade was to make reports of the lands of the earth and the waters of the earth and the air above the earth with pictures thereof. Jehovah had said to Cpenta-Armij, thou shalt make reports of the land and water and air of the earth and of all the living thereon and therein, with pictures thereof. 2 copies thou shalt make, and when the end of dawn is come, thou shalt take the 2 copies with thee in thy ascension to my Etherian worlds. 1 copy shalt thou put on the record in the library of Haosity, and the other copy thou shalt send to the Hyperis Council of the United Chiefs and Chieftainesses for their own deliberations. For the Hyperis Council shall determine from this thy report what is good for the earth, as to whether she shall be changed in her course, or broken up and divided, or whether she needeth Aji or Dan, and they shall send out road makers to that end, or send vortices against her vortex to break it or rule over it, according to my light upon them. And the footnote says, the implication here is quite clear. Nothing that happens to the earth in terms of light and darkness is by chance. All events, including periods of light or corporal darkness, are predetermined. All such preparations and actions are carried out by high raised angels. All right, back to page 293, verse 6, Uncle JP. Shalom. Besides these, Cpenta-Armij had 1,000 recorders, whose business it was to prepare reports of the Lord's kingdom and of the factories, colleges, nurseries, hospitals, the hells, if any, and knots, if any, to record the grade and number of spirits in each heavenly place, to record the earthly kingdoms and kings and queens and their subjects, their occupations and grades, and their rate of corporal life age, to record the percentage of familiar spirits with mortals, the fetals, the Druhas, as well as the Ishars and Asaphs, and the temples and oracles in use by mortals, the altars, and places of worship, to record the number of Ehims still inhabiting the earth, the number of pure Ehuans who worship only one great spirit, the Druk order who always have idols or saviors and are given to war. Divine blessings. Verse 7 at the top, page 293. One full moon of 4 quarters remained in Spenta. Remains. Let me go back. One full moon of 4 quarters remained Cpenta-Armij with each one of the lords of the earth, and then she departed, going into all the habitable places on the earth, and in the heavens that rested on the earth. In 10 moons she had completed her labor with the lords of the first resurrection, had witnessed the manner in which the Lord sent away the upraised to Oahspe to enter the second resurrection, and her scribes and recorders had completed their labor also. That's interesting because I had a dream about a graduation last night. It was actually a military graduation, mind you. I always, sometimes I'll have not like dreams about military, but my dreams will be about the military and will be about the military. The Navy was Navy and we was on a ship, but there was a whole huge graduation about to happen. And we was just kind of going through, just checking each compartment, making sure everybody was present and accounted for. It's interesting because it wasn't just people in uniform, it was people in uniform. And you know how you have the families that come, like say if people graduating from boot camp, they have pass and review, which is like the military graduation. At least that's what they call it for the Navy. Pass and review. It was not just the civilian clothed people that was there watching, but they were actually like a part of the graduation, right? You had civilian clothed people, those who were in uniforms, those who was going around checking, making sure everybody was present and accounted for, who was missing, take notes of who was missing, who was just laying around in a bit, like all of that stuff. It was interesting. Kind of remind me of what we're reading. This probably has a whole lot of bearing from what I've been reading. Okay, let me go back. I'm gonna read 6 again. It's a real long verse. Besides these, Cpenta-Armij had 1,000 recorders whose business it was to prepare reports of the Lord's kingdoms and of the factories, colleges, nurseries, hospitals, the hills, if any, and knots, if any, to record the grade and number of spirits in each heavenly place, to record the earthly kingdoms and the kings and queens and their subjects, their occupations and grades, and their rate of corporal life age, to record the percentage of familiar spirits with mortals, the fetals, the Druhas, as well as the Ishars and Asaphs, and the temples and oracles in use by mortals, the altars and places of worship, to record the number of Ehims still inhabiting the earth, the number of pure Ehuans who worship only one great spirit, the Druk order who always have idols or saviors and are given to war. One full moon of 4 quarters remained, Cpenta-Armij with each one of the lords of the earth. And then she departed, going into all the habitable places on the earth, and in the heavens that rested on the earth. In 10 moons she had completed her labor with the lords of the first resurrection, had witnessed the manner in which the Lord sent away the upraised to Oahspe to enter the second resurrection, and her scribes and recorders had completed their labor also. And now the chieftainess sent her Arabagna back to Oahspe with her visitors, Ox, Siwagan, and Heoah, but for herself she had a Pied-Mazar built and taken 10,000 attendants, besides the workers of the boat. She descended on the very earth to visit the 4 gods in the 4 great divisions of the earth, with Iwata, with Brahma, with Abram, and with Po. With each of these she spent 12 days, and then she departed and went to Matraeus, the heavenly place, the only lorddom of the earth, where ruled Yugsesu with 30 million. Here she remained 12 days also, and the inhabitants gave a tournament and a festival. After this, Cpenta-Armij departed for Oahspe, for the end of dawn was near at hand. Chapter 11. In the council of Oahspe, the voice of Jehovah came to Cpenta-Armij, saying, Behold, the time of thy sun and stars raiseth in the road of Southwatka. The red star neareth the fields of Aboram. Great Otison hath filled the sinks and sloughs of Yoswakak. And at the bottom, it's reference number 7 after Yoswakak. And down at the bottom, it says Yosawakak. Yoswakak. And at the top, it just removes the A. So it's Yoswakak. Okay. The red star neareth the fields of Aboram. Great Otison have filled the sinks and sloughs of Yoswakak. Thousands of millions of my sons and daughters, behold the feast of Cpenta. Hear thou thy creator, O Cpenta-Armij, for thou shalt spread abroad the table of my host, such like as hath never been before in Hayot-Sati. And thou shalt send Obed, god of Osi, Gavani, goddess of Ipthor, Ab, Shriver of Rivsing, Razi, goddess of Esdras, Wishsi, god of Zuth, Harava, god of Yanyan, Varaga Pates, goddess of Zoe or Zo, and Luchung, god of Ata Banas Wichakaha. Ata Banas Wichahaha. Yeah. Okay. And Luchung, god of Ata Banas Wichahaha. And thou shalt send for the gods of and goddesses of the plains of No Chain, and for the gods and goddesses of the Chihawogo roads, and for all the gods and goddesses in their own Nirvanian fields, and for the great chief Shulu of the roads of Jinehasij, and for all the gods and goddesses in his dominion in my Etherean worlds. And yet thou shalt remember of thine own knowledge many gods and goddesses, and thou shalt charge thy companions, Ox and Siwagon and Heoah, to sit in council with thee, that ye may remember whomever of chiefs and chieftainesses, of shrevers and gods and goddesses, that may be delightful. Mom, shalom. Great Spirit, Jehovah, peace and blessings. And praises to the Most High. Hallelujah. Thou shalt command them in my name to meet in the feast of Cpenta, for it is the first in this, my new world. Make way for them, make place for them, O my daughter. Make wide the roadways in my lower heaven, make my holy feast glorious. Cpenta-Armij said, Too wide are the dams of earth, too far apart and cumbersome, O Father. More than 24,000 million, and after million, it has reference number 8. And at the bottom, it says 2,000 millions and 4,000 millions will be. All right, so let me go back up and reread it. Cpenta-Armij said, Too wide are the dams of earth, too far apart and cumbersome, O Father. More than 24,000 million will be my harvest unto thee, O Jehovah. Great is thy wisdom in Cpenta, the time for the beginning of quarter ascensions, 50 years. Thy gods and goddesses, O Jehovah, and thy chiefs and chieftainesses will bind up these loose heavens into wholesome discipline. I love how this never leaves out the women. I told y'all I grew up with this thing, and I was okay with it after a while. I'm like, Father, okay, but it's something wrong about this. Why are you always talking to the men and the women is just like a byproduct or something? You know, I was like, do you never use women for anything? Like, are we not usable like that? You only made us to like just for the kitchen and the bedroom floor, the kitchen and the bedroom. Absolutely not. Man has done that. Oh, okay. All right. So now I can completely ignore people that come here and say foolery to me, like women shouldn't be teaching, or women shouldn't be doing this, and women shouldn't be doing that. Clearly, you have not really been introduced to our Father, have you? Yeah. Tiffany. Sawubona. Okay. Verse 6. Thy gods and goddesses, O Jehovah, and thy chiefs and chieftainesses will bind up these loose heavens into wholesome discipline. I will send my swift messengers into thy far off Ethereal worlds, and bring thy sons and daughters to thy feasts. Cpenta-Armij sent off into the wide heavens, high beyond the earth heavens, invitations to tens of thousands of high raised sons and daughters of the Great Spirit. Then she called her surveyors and table makers before Jehovah's throne and said unto them, the end of dawn is near at hand. I will give a feast, a very great feast. Go ye and survey the ground from Creoshavie to the lakes of Uchilu in Ethera, and for the length thereof make ye a width in the form of fate. And fate is Fete. And that's reference letter D. Remember last time we was looking at that whole diagram and chart? I couldn't find it. I was like, y'all, I must be overlooking this. Somebody please tell me where this is located. All right, so after fate is a reference letter D. And on page 301, it says, see plate 63. That same chart, we're about to go back to it. Book of Safa, entry fate, 1882 edition. Plate 63 is, I gotta go back to the front. Oh, wait. I think I had it. Oh, there we go. Plate 63. I done been to it enough to know it was in the back. Okay. This one right here. Fate. It's the first row. I think it was the seventh down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. The seventh one down in the first column from, if you're looking at the book from your left. This one right here. The highlighted one. Fate. Fete. Okay. Okay. Verse 8. The end of dawn is near at hand. I will give a feast, a very great feast. Go ye and survey the ground from Creoshavie to the lakes of Uchilu in Ethera, and for the length thereof make ye a width in the form of fate. And the road of the fate shall be sufficient for the passage of 12 avalanzas abreast, and the depth of the fate shall be as from the surface of the earth unto Chinvat, within 12 seals, SIOS, within 12 seals of a borum, and of the height of the circuit of Bilothawachian, Bilothawachian. Okay. Within the 12 seals of a borum, and of the height of the circuit of Bilothawachium, shall ye carry the border flames, and the flames shall be of double currents, going and coming, that the food of the feast may be brought from any region suited to the high raised grades. And the ark of the feast shall encompass the whole earth and extend outward to the belt of Creoshavie, and then downward in two lines, east and west. And the downward lines shall be like the feet of a compass, one stationary and the other movable. And the light that extendeth from the ark down the movable line shall rest on the delivered host of Abram, and it shall bear upon his people, that they may hereafter draw light direct from the Father's throne in Creoshavie, and it shall move westward and be as an inheritance of Jehovah's light upon his corporal sons and daughters. It's talking about Abraham, y'all. Let me read that again. Verse 9. The ark, And the ark of the feast shall encompass the whole earth and extend outward to the belt of Jehovih, and then downward in two lines, east and west. And the downward lines shall be like the feet of a compass, one stationary and the other movable. And the light that extendeth from the ark down, the movable line shall rest on, and the light that extendeth from the ark down, the movable line shall rest on the delivered host of Abram, and it shall bear upon his people, that they may hereafter draw light direct from the Father's throne in Creoshivy, and it shall move westward and be as an inheritance of Jehovah's light upon his corporal sons and daughters. But the line that standeth in the east shall be a base line and center, whither shall descend the Father's light upon the delivered sons and daughters of the hosts of Brahma and Po. And because of the ark of Cpenta upon them, they shall remain in their own divisions of the earth. Interesting. Okay. But the line that standeth in the east shall be a base line and center, whither shall descend the Father's light upon the delivered sons and daughters of the hosts of Brahma and Po. And because of the ark of Cpenta upon them, they shall remain in their own divisions of the earth. And for the deliverance of the harvest of the quarter, the high raised horns of the ark shall stand to the four quarters, east, west, north, and south. Jehovah then spake through Cpenta-Armij, saying, For I will illumine the horns thereof, and my new order. The earth and her heavens shall rest in the light of my robes forever, that no man, having my examples before him, can misunderstand me. Jehovah then spake through Cpenta-Armij, saying, For I will illumine the horns thereof, and my new world, the earth and her heavens, shall rest in the light of my robes forever, that no man, having my examples before him, can misunderstand me. Behold, it is given to a child only one lesson a day, and to a youth 2 lessons a day, and to a mature man many lessons a day. So in the early creation of man, I give few lessons. Then in the youthful age of the race, many more lessons. But when the race hath attained to full manhood, behold, I lay my light at their feet, that they may take my lessons every day. Trina, hey girl, hey. I would say we should be taking lessons every day, right? Every day. That's good. I'm gonna read verse 13 again. I'm gonna keep on going. Behold, it is given to a child only one lesson a day, and to a youth 2 lessons a day, and to a mature man many lessons a day. So in the early creation of man, I give few lessons. Then in youthful age of the race, many more lessons. But when the race hath attained to full manhood, behold, I lay my light at their feet, that they may take my lessons every day. Kind of like the different levels of school. You have elementary, middle school. No, I guess you can say elementary and middle school, then high school, and then college. Right, college. Everything is there now. You can choose. So for the elementary and like the middle schools, and actually some elementary and middle schools are lumped together, right? And then you just go from like elementary / immediate middle school straight to high school, right? So that first block for the elementary, intermediate, or middle is like the child, 1 lesson a day. And then to the youth, 2 lessons a day. It's kind of like high school. And then to a mature man, many lessons a day. You can pick your course load in college. You can choose whatever, right? That's the first example I thought about. Then in the youthful age of a race, many more lessons. But when the race hath attained to full manhood, behold, I lay my light at their feet, that they may take my lessons every day. In one time I send the angels of the dead to lead men up to a knowledge of me and my places. But when man hath attained to think for himself, I set up my ark of Spisa, and it is as a candle in the firmament of heaven, wherefrom my light falleth upon the soul of my people, without any interpreter, save my own voice. That was good. I'm gonna read that one more time. Verse 14, page 295 at the top. Anita Solomon, shalom, say shalom. In one time I send the angels of the dead to lead man up to a knowledge of me and my places. But when man hath attained to think for himself, I set up my ark of Spita, and it is as a candle in the firmament of heaven, wherefrom my light falleth upon the soul of my people, without any interpreter, save my own voice. For which reason, when one of my worlds hath attained to Spita, I come to deliver them from kings and queens and priests and angels, and it is as the maturity of a son in his father's house, when he inviteth his neighbors and spreadeth a feast. Open wide thy places, O Cpenta-Armij, a great joy is upon my Ethereal worlds. My high-raised sons and daughters shall have great glory in the earth and her heavens. Behold, I have proclaimed myself in the worlds of mortals. 4 high-raised sons have learned to know their Father in heaven. That's my grandbaby in the back screaming, y'all. Sorry. And after 4 high-raised sons have learned to know their Father in heaven, you have reference letter E. If you don't just open that, the slower you do it, the louder it squeaks. Thank you. Okay, so after to know their Father in heaven, after heaven, it has reference letter E. And jump back over to page 301. It says, 4 high-raised sons are Brahma, Abram, Poe, and Iwata, right? 1882 edition. All right. That was the end of chapter 11. So now we're at chapter 12. What time we at? 33 minutes? Okay, we good. We got a good time today. It's what, 12, 13? Oh, we might be done with this today. It's only 13 chapters. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get it done then. Okay. Chapter 12. Cpenta-Armij said, who can understand thy models, O Jehovah? Who cannot understand thy models, O Jehovah? Thou hast shown to mortals the food of the flesh and the source of the substance of the blood, as a symbol before them of thy Essene worlds, thy Essene peoples. Thou hast created thy corporean members to receive and to impart, but this is not all. Thou createst poison to show man that which receiveth not and imparteth not is death. Most wisely, O Father, thou hast provided the degrees of subsistence unto all thy creation, to the corporal food, to the atmospheric food, to the etheric food. Wide will I spread my tables, O Jehovah. Thy gods and goddesses and thy high-raised chieftains shall sit at the feast of Spita. The chieftainess sent swift messengers into the regions of the Ethereal worlds, near the roadway of the great serpent, 500,000 swift messengers. Down to the atmospheric regions, she sent messengers to the gods and lords, her laborers, 10,000 messengers. To her invited guests, she privileged each 1,000,000 attendants. To her invited guests, she privileged each 1,000,000 attendants. Next, Cpenta-Armij sent 50,000 arrow ship makers in the regions of Cpenta-Armij in the Ethereal Etis to prepare ceremonial salvers and connecting rods, so that all the thousands of millions being united, could hear the voice of Jehovah from her throne. Movable in her Aravagna, 12 counterparts to these she sent down to the lowest heavenly regions, so the all light could pierce the corporal earth. And now, when her well skilled workmen of tens of thousands of years' experience had saluted and gone off to their respective labors, the chieftainess spake before the council, saying, because of my ark upon the earth and her heavens, the light of our Father will forever remain with mortals in the Haden fields. But behold, even as a young man coming to maturity goeth away on his own account in great hope and self-conceit of his powers to meet many misfortunes and great darkness, so will it be on the earth and her heavens after Speda. Because I plant my ark in these heavens and say to the gods thereof, ye are free, behold, there shall rise numerous false gods of great power. And as a young man going forth is puffed up with conceit, so will the atmosphere and gods believe that they know all things, and so bring great darkness and misery upon their kingdoms and themselves. Kind of like teenagers, they that's what it just said, right? And anybody got teenagers know it. I know. You ain't got to tell me that they think they know it all, right? But the light of my ark shall stand, shall grow like a small seed planted, and in time to come, both angels and mortals shall understand that there is but one all light, a very center, to whom all gods are but as small diadems. Jacobin James. Shalom, shalom. That's my maiden name, James. The James gang. Okay. Listen. Verse 6. But the light of my ark shall stand, shall grow like a small seed planted, and in time to come, both angels and mortals shall understand that there is but one all light, a very center, to whom all gods are but as small diadems. As a young man of the earth must have experience of his own to realize his own shortness, so must even the gods of these lower heavens be left to run with a loose rein for the glory of Jehovah and for themselves in final deliverance. For which reason, hereafter, the bondage of the discipline of the God and his lords shall be as nothing. Only hills and knots shall they longer. Hold on. Oh, that's good. Listen. I so wish we had this first before we had the Bible. Then, if we got the Bible, or they should have been given to us together. It really should have. Oh my gosh. So many things would not have been chopped and screwed. Oh my gosh. And the hell that Christians put people through. Listen, I'm going to read this all of verse 6. I'm going to read it all again. But the light of my ark shall stand, shall grow like a small seed planted, and in time to come, both angels and mortals shall understand that there is but one all light or one creator, a very center to whom all gods are but as small diadems. As a young man of the earth must have experience of his own to realize his own shortness, so must even the gods of these lower heavens be left to run with a loose rein for the glory of Jehovah and for themselves in final deliverance. For which reason, hereafter, the bondage of the discipline of the gods and his lords shall be as nothing. Only hills and knots shall they longer cast out with fire and water. Only by persuasion and the example of practice shall they hold dominion in their respective places, right? Queen Israel, grand rising, sis. Listen, so only by persuasion and by example themselves shall you lead the people, right? You lead them by providing an example, right? Just remember I told y'all yes, that whole persuasion thing, the rewards type discipline to get your children to fall in line. It's a way of persuading them to do what's right, right? This is good. Listen. Only hills and knots shall they longer cast out with fire and water. Only by persuasion and the example of practice they shall hold dominion in their respective places. As in the early days, a king ruleth with a rod and with tyrannous, like tyrannous laws. As in a riper age, the king and his armies give way to a power vested in the people, so shall my ark be the giving of the lower heavens, and the earth beneath into the keeping of themselves. But my ark, which is the foundation of the Father's upper kingdoms within the lower heavens, shall stand forever. Oh, snap. Hold up. Listen. Okay, I just thought about something. Okay, so when I was reading or listening to the Law of One, the raw interview, right? The raw contact. It said something towards the end of it when it was talking about America, right? And it something just clicked. Okay, I'm still developing the thought. Okay, so they said something about America on why America is way more advanced than some of the other places, and why it seems to have more freedom than some of the other places, like even with respect to like gun laws and things like that. And what they said was that the council, or we can say the angels or the principalities and the powers, the high raised angels of light who are over the heavens of America, are some of the more high raised, which is why America gets way more privileges, because believe it or not, um, it's way more developed than some of the other places, and some of the other countries actually still have some. Not that the Americas doesn't have like rogue gods and false lords and stuff, because they do in certain places. But for the overall kingdoms and heavens of America, they are high raised. So America gets more inventions and different things like that that help kind of bring up the status of the world all around, right? Listen. And also the type of government that we're under, it seems to, and I know a lot of people have their thoughts about the republic and all this, and the people, the people put the officials in office, which we do. Then you have the whole argument with, we don't do nothing, we think our vote count, but it's the Illuminati that put it. Forget all that just for the moment, right? Just kind of push all those arguments to the side, and look at how the different countries are being ran. I ain't gonna say we're the only, but even uh, portions of South America has kicked out the rulership of the Queen of England, right? And now they're kind of ruling their country like America rules its country, right? So we no longer have kings and queens ruling over us, although you still got the argument, well, isn't America under the rulership of the queen and all this? We ain't talking about that. We're talking about how it's set up. If we just actually just sit back, put all the arguments away, and just pay attention to the governments and who's ruling what. So what this just said right here, listen. As in the early days, a king ruleth with a rod and with tyrannous laws, and as in a riper age, the king and his armies give way to a power vested in the people, so shall my ark be the giving of the lower heavens, and the earth beneath into the keeping of themselves, right? So the Americas and those who actually the people kind of rule the government, where there's no longer this succession of kings and queens and bloodlines who rule, because this is how we do it here. You can tell just by that they've moved into a different phase in life. They're growing up. So kings and queens rule over places that need ruling, like parents with younger children, right? You got younger children, you need adult supervision there. So you come in our house, our rules, right? When you get out of here, you have your own rules. You do whatever you want to. Right now, you can rule yourself. But while you're here in this stage, we rule. We're in place, right? So that's what it seems to be like. That's not what it seems to be. It's what it is for America. Because technically, according to the Constitution, we ain't getting into all what the Constitution is. That we ain't getting into all that. I'm just saying the theory of everything and how we're actually living and how things going. We ain't talking about corrupt people in office. We're talking about the whole overall thing. America is way more advanced and we're more advanced in age, so to speak, according to the conversation we're having. We're more advanced to where we're not necessarily, where we're not living under a king and a queen. The power has been vested into the people and we get to choose who we want in our government, right? At least that's how it's supposed to work, right? Okay, let me read this again. I'm gonna read verse 6 again and go down. But the light of my ark shall stand, shall grow like a small seed planted, and in the time to come, both angels and mortals shall understand that there is but one all light, a very center to whom all gods are but as small diadems. As a young man of the earth must have experience of his own to realize his own shortness, so must even the gods of these lower heavens be left to run with a loose rein for the glory of Jehovah and for themselves in final deliverance, for which reason hereafter the bondage of the discipline of the gods and his lords shall be as nothing. Only hells and knots shall they longer cast out with fire and water. Only by persuasion and by the example of practice they shall hold dominion in their respective places. So at first you ruled by tyranny. Now you're not allowed to touch them. You need to rule by example and by persuasion. Instead of using your rod, now you use your own life as an example to show them what to do. Before, when you rule, you use rods and whips and beat them into submission. You can no longer do that. You can only talk to them and you can lead by example. Be a good example so it can persuade them to want to live the right way, right? Tables have turned. As in the early days, a king ruleth with a rod and with tyrannous laws, and as in a riper age, the king and his armies give way to a power vested in the people. So shall my ark be the giving, so shall my ark be the giving of the lower heavens and the earth beneath into the keeping of themselves. But my ark, which is the foundation of the Father's upper kingdoms within the lower heavens, shall stand forever. I go on now on my journey down to the earth in my Aravagna to receive and deliver my four gods, Os, Vishnu, Yima, and Elia. And after Elia, who is God in chief, it has reference to letter F. And reference letter F is the last letter reference for this book. And on page 301, it says, Elia is the name of the ruling god of earth under Cpenta-Armij, who was sent to the earth to inspire Brahma. Since this required his vacating the throne, Thel was appointed in his stead to complete the cycle and to continue through the next Danha. Yeah, we talked about, I think, Thel yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, he had that long list of credentials. I was like, this dude is more than qualified. That guy, yeah. Okay. I go now on my journey down to the earth in my Aravagna to receive and deliver my four gods, Os and Vishnu and Yima and Elia, God in chief. Thus saying, Cpenta-Armij descended to the foot of Jehovah's throne, and the light fell upon Thel. And he rose up from the throne and descended, taking her hand, saying, Arise, O goddess, and hear thou the voice of thy Father, creator and ruler. Behold, thy labor on the earth and her heavens is near the end, and because of thy steadfastness, I am honored in thee, my daughter. Whilst thou art delivering my gods, behold, I will be with thee, and whatsoever thou desirest of me, I will give unto thee. My sons and daughters shall receive the visiting host from the high heavens, and allot them places in the feast. And my sons and daughters shall receive and adorn my brides and bridegrooms, and my trumpeters shall proclaim me and my works from the surface of the earth to the farthest places in Sawatka. Yea, my light makers shall plant the staff of my holy fire in the throne of Creoshavi, and the foot thereof shall pierce the earth in the land of Vidu to receive and deliver my earth son Brahma. Go thou, O chieftainess, holy one of great wisdom and power, it is the voice of thy father. Cpenta-Armij stood aside and then said, to ye, my loved companions, Ox and Siwagan and Heoah, when the staff of the Father's light hath descended to the earth, come ye then to me quickly in my arrow ship of fire, for it shall be a signal betwixt us that in that hour I will raise up my gods from the corporal earth, and I will open the earth and bring forth the bodies of my son, Brahma and his wife, Utiv, whose youngest son holdeth the leaven of the Osirian law. And I will have there assembled the host of my 10 lords, and I will deliver into their hands, and for their successors, the fulfillment of the deviant laws. Her companions responded, in Jehovah's wisdom and power, we will be there. And after successors, and for their successors, the fulfillment of the deviant laws, after successors, it has reference number 9, and it says at the bottom, deliver into their hands, and for their successors. All right, y'all, we at 51 minutes. All right. So we're going to use these last few minutes and read this last chapter, chapter 13, and we will be done for the day. The light of Jehovah now spread over Haosati and lined the road of South Waka in Ethera, extending from the Orion banks of Luchiwan to the Oxanian spars of Ochesu. The crossroads Chi Il Wachong and the plains of Shah Tumats were as seas and whirls of crystal fire. And in the piercing light, the old time gods of millions of years agone sped forth in awful majesty in answer to the prayers of Cpenta-Armij, and there rose over the earth and her heavens, farther than Chinvat, a trident arc, broad as a world, of shimmering light, the countless rays of Eth, as mortals see the glimmering air in the summer's day. But the Eth was of every color, hue, and tint, reflective and brilliant, the clear soul of things separate in the very breath of Jehovah. It was the beginning of the form of the Ark of Cpeta, the deliverance of the earth and her heavens into a new condition, to bestow it upon itself, ratified by the ceremony of a festival for the gods and goddesses of that neighborhood, hundreds of millions of miles around about. Meanwhile, their high-raised companion, Cpenta-Armij, known and loved in hundreds of Etherian worlds, was down on the low earth, laying the cornerstone for Jehovah's everlasting kingdom, whereon shall fall presently from out of the ark of Cpeta a shaft of fire, the feast for the purified chieftainess who had 4 years subsisted on the coarse provender of the lower heavens. And touched by the hand of immortal light was Brahma, long trained to look toward Jehovah, for his angel wife rose upward, leading his vision toward a realm amongst the gods and goddesses. Hey, little girl. You came in to listen? Okay, she's just going to stand there and stare at me. And touched by the hand of immortal light was Brahma, long trained to look toward Jehovah, for his angel wife rose upward, leading his vision toward a realm amongst the gods and goddesses, whom he beheld in countless numbers, receiving her most royally. Thus, gazing on the glorious scene, the great man in soul came forth, leaving his corporal part stretched on the ground, and Cpenta-Armij and God took him, received the soul of Brahma, and held, in obedience to the sacred purpose, his place in the sacred circle with mortals 3 days. Listen, I'm going to read that again. Let me go back to 3. Listen, okay, so Brahma just gave up the ghost, right? Look, now that's how you should go. You shouldn't go by heart attack, car accident, or nothing crazy, right? You should have gotten to the level you're supposed to get to and be ready to graduate Earth, and they waiting for you. G, just late. It's time. Okay, bye, y'all. Love everybody. Remember, keep the party going. I'm be watching y'all. All right, I'm out. Hey! Look, that's how I'm going. I'm telling you. That's how I'm going. Like, I'm going to let y'all know before I go. I mean, if y'all still here, because I plan on living a very long life. I'm going to get every lesson out of this school that I'm supposed to get before I go, right? I'm being got my dog under control, my flesh and stuff. So I'm gonna be perfect, everything in place, not overweight, none of this craziness. My thinnest hair at the top gonna be nice and super thick, like all that stuff. Like sis really did it. It took her 40 years, but she did it. Like I told y'all, come on, we waiting for you. Look, okay. Let me quit playing. But I'm serious. I'm so serious though. Listen. Okay. Verse 3. Meanwhile, their high-raised companion, Cpenta-Armij, known and loved in hundreds of Ethereal worlds, was down on the low earth, laying the cornerstone for Jehovah's everlasting kingdom, whereon should fall presently from out of the ark of Cpenta a shaft of fire, the feast for the purified chieftainess who had for 4 years subsisted on the coarse provender of the lower heavens. And touched by the hand of immortal light was Brahma, long trained to look towards Jehovah, for his angel wife rose upward, leading his vision toward a realm amongst the gods and goddesses, whom he beheld in countless numbers, receiving her most royally. Okay, so his wife passed and he saw them receive her, right? I'll read that again. And touched by the hand of immortal light was Brahma, long trained to look toward Jehovah, for his angel wife rose upward, leading his vision toward a realm amongst the gods and goddesses, whom he beheld in countless numbers, receiving her most royally. Thus gazing on the glorious scene, the great man in soul came forth, leaving his corporal part stretched on the ground, leaving his body stretched out on the ground, right? Thus, gazing on the glorious scene, the great man in soul came forth, leaving his corporal part stretched on the ground. And Cpenta-Armij and God took him, received the soul of Brahma, and held, in obedience to the sacred purpose, his place in the sacred circle with mortals 3 days. So before they actually take you on to where you're supposed to go, you get 3 days here still, right? And so if you have family members that literally just passed away, like today or yesterday, for 3 earth days, they'll still be here. That's what's allowed for them before they raise them up. It's like they're giving their last goodbyes to family and stuff. And probably most of their family is absolutely oblivious that they're still here, right? Until they go on. Because if they turn into Druges, they're going to probably be here on fetal and connect on to them. Then things just going to start getting crazy, knocking on stuff. And you like, what was that? Did you hear that? Flicking lights on. They ain't what we doing when we leave, right? We ain't coming back to haunt you and stuff. We're going to be good, my G. Make sure you keep the party going, I'm be telling everybody, hey, I know you can't see me. Hopefully, my family, I didn't help raise to a point where they're sensitive enough to the spirit. Well, when I step out of my body, they can still hear and see me, right? But you got to be super totally in tune, right? Can't be full of flesh and meat and stuff. Otherwise, it weighs not just the body, but also the spirit down, and you can't hear, right? You can't hear, you can't see, which is why when you fast, you can hear, your spiritual ears pop open, your spiritual eyes pop open, you can perceive things, you can not necessarily predict things, but you can see them happening ahead of time, which is when your dog is in control, you're completely oblivious and things just happen to you, right? We want to get out of living that way. Hold on. Okay, 3 days. And after the 3 days, they go ahead and they continue their journey in school and life. All right. Verse 5. Then on the fourth, the chieftainess signaled her. Let me just go back. I'm going to read this last sentence within verse 4. And Cpenta-Armij and God took him, received the soul of Brahma, and held, in obedience to the sacred purpose, his place in the sacred circle with mortals 3 days. Then on the fourth, the chieftainess signaled her swift messengers, and they touched the currents along till they ran high beyond the earth's vortex, where the stationed gods of Etheria fastened on the ethic wave, extending to the great arc over all. It was the signal for the shaft of light, of which mortals have a weak and coarse symbol in the electric currents which tear things unmeaningly and without judgment. But the ethic current is not so small and purposeless, but mighty and a tool from Jehovah's fountain of all power, with skill and learnedly directed by such high raised angels as have had millions of years of experience, who know well what prayers deserve and answer from the immortal spheres. Let me read that again. Listen, bruh. So, ooh, this is so good. This is like a whole lesson in itself on why some prayers work and why some prayers don't work. Prayers are like an electric current. Bruh, hold up. Jan Grand Rising. Listen, verse 6. No, let me go back to 5. Then on the fourth, the chieftainess signaled her swift messengers, and they touched the currents along till they ran high beyond the earth's vortex, where the stationed gods of Etheria fastened on the ethic wave, extending to the great arc over all. It was the signal for the shaft of light, of which mortals have a weak and coarse symbol in the electric currents, which tear things unmeaningly and without judgments. All right, like the power that we have. Be careful power lines, because ain't if you nearby and you get fried, right, without judgment. But in the heavenly realms and the spiritual realms, the electrical currents have more purpose. Listen. It was the signal for the shaft of light, of which mortals have a weak and coarse symbol in the electric currents, which tears things unmeaningly and without judgment. But the ethic current is not so small and purposeless, but mighty and a tool from Jehovah's fountain of all power, with skill and learnedly directed by such high raised angels as have had millions of years' experience, who know well what prayers deserve an answer from the immortal spheres. And Cpenta-Armij's name and word and wisdom had long been in fellowship with mighty works on many worlds, and her well-trained thought, so tuned to the Creator's purpose, kept ever in concert with the ethic foundations of the place and administration of thousands of gods and goddesses. And when the signal shot upward and the shaft of light began to pierce the earth's vortex, making way for Jehovih, it was also the signal for Ox and Siwagan and Heyoah to fly instantly for their aeroship and make all speed for Cpenta-Armij, the which they did now, even as a flash of light darteth forth, guides and directors of Jehovah's flame to the grave of Brahma and Utiv. So you remember, Utiv is his wife. Isn't that amazing though? Like, that would be so freaking amazing that you and your spouse are so much on the same page. That's when it's time for one to go, it's time for you both to go. Like, we go together, bro. We did this together. We graduating together. Not crazy, like crazy ways, people. We ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about that, right? But when you have eked out every single lesson that could possibly have been eked out during your time here, right? You two should go to the end of time here together, and you should graduate together, just like these two did, right? That rarely ever happens. It rarely, at least in that case. A lot of them do die together, but Not the way that it should happen. Listen, okay. And when the signal was shot upward, and the shaft of light began to pierce the earth's vortex, making way for Creation, it was also the signal for Ox and Siwagan and Hayoa to fly instantly for their aeroship and make all speed for Cpenta-Armij, the which they did now, even as a flash of light darted forth, guides and directors of Jehovah's flame to the grave of Brahma and Utiv. As Cpenta-Armij, standing by her ship, saw the shaft descending, she flew forth to the center of the circle, her hand pointing to the graves. She said, "There, O Jehovah, come forth, O earth, earth, in Jehovah's name, 'tis I command." And down fell the bolt of light, piercing the new, disturbed ground, rich with mortal tears, and thus made powerful to the soul current. And as the breath of wind would move a heap of feathers, so did the light by the wave of Cpenta-Armij's hand blow the earth away and lift up the buried forms of two dead lovers, Brahma and Utiv. Oh, this is so beautiful. Look, I'm a sucker for love. I'm a little ratchet, but I'm still a sucker for love. Look, oh, you can see. Hold up, y'all. Oh, this is great. Hold on. I gotta read this whole thing again. I ain't even read it all, but I gotta start over. Hold on. This is amazing. Listen to this. Verse 10. And down fell the bolt of light, piercing the new disturbed ground, rich with mortal tears, and thus made powerful to the soul current, like the current of the ocean, the soul current. And as a breath of wind would move a heap of feathers, so did the light by the wave of Cpenta-Armij's hand blow the earth away and lift up the buried forms of two dead lovers, Brahma and Utiv, and march them full before the mortal audience, newly animated and lovingly, hand in hand, triumphant over death. Then spake Hog, the youngest mortal son, and Osirian in belief, seeing the resurrected forms. It is the very Brahma and Utiv, my father and mother, right? Yeah, they're gonna be sad when you go. But if you raise them up the way you should, they should be just as spiritual as you are. And they can see this whole graduation taking place. Yo, this is amazing. Let me go. Then spake Hog, the youngest mortal son, and Osirian in belief, seeing the resurrected forms. It is the very Brahma and Utiv, my father and mother, the great Brahma, now quickened in Cpenta-Armij's arms, and God spake from Jehovah's throne a few words to the loving sons and mortal concourse, then took final leave. Cpenta-Armij seized the folds of the shaft of light as a mortal would the ropes and caravans of a toy ship, and wrapping the earthly part of Brahma and Utiv about securely, then wheeled in line her own ship and raked in the Etherian current from high heavens. And let me make a comment. So what they did, we've seen that a few times. The first time we seen this was back when we were still Christians, right? Reading through the Bible. JC, after his resurrection, he was back for a few days talking with the people in his resurrected body, letting them know things, bro. I go to prepare a place for you. You know, my father has many mansions. Where I go, you gonna come also, right? That's the first time we seen that there. Second time together seeing it was with Zarathustra. Remember, after he gave up the ghost, after his body, his flesh had died, they saw him transition, and then for also a period of 3 days, he talked with everybody that was there, letting them know, look, I'm not dead. I am yet alive. I am more alive now than what I was when I was still walking my dog, when I still had my flesh before I transitioned, right? This is real. This is where you're going after you pass your flesh. Continue on strong. Learn all the lessons you need to learn, right? I can share with you some things from this realm, but at a certain point, that's got to be it, and I got to go because you all have to pass this way, right? It's like that shift change over. You're turning over the watch, right? Okay. Verse 13. Hold on. We literally almost done. It's 28 verses. We're on verse 13. Tossing up her hand, the known signal to the great workers in the trident arc above, the exchanging currents of the traveling flame began, and now raised up the whole Etherian host and the bodies of Brahma and Utiv, the which had not been raised a mile before they were etherized, scattered and gone, and the souls of the two sweet loves, in cognizance and fellowship with the millions of Jehovah's sons and daughters, now swiftly making way for Jehovih. Cpenta-Armij's work was done. I need a sip of water. Cpenta-Armij's work was done. In the ark of light and companionship of her compeers, the feast was open, and the thousands of millions in rapport sat along the series of tables hundreds of millions of miles to relish soul food brought from more than 1,000 worlds. Meanwhile, God, to finish his labors, resumed his throne in Jehovih just in time to receive the 12 avalanzas sent from Uquat's factories in Aboram in Ethera to receive the 420,000 million brides and bridegrooms in Jehovah's name, who were to take the degree of third resurrection and be raised beyond the earth's vortex and emancipated in the Etherian realms of Hayosati. Chuwin Ista, goddess of Oam Bayu, chief commandress of the fleet, having been apprised of the number of initiates, had prepared 12,000 rings, 1,000 for each avalanza, and the fleet in turn was in a ring, and the ring extended sufficiently wide to encircle the holy capital and throne in Jehovih, so that when it had descended to its place, God and his officers and the holy council of heaven and earth, now 30 million members, were in the center of the audience. On every side, far as the eye could see, stood the brides and bridegrooms of Jehovah, arrayed in spotless white, fearless before the light and ceremonies. When the fleet landed, Chuwinista, the commandress, came forth from the east, facing God on the throne. She said, "Thy voice, O God, hath called the name of Jehovah. Behold, I am his daughter, sent by him to know thy will and holy desires." Hold on, that was a question. Behold, I am his daughter, sent by him to know thy will and holy desires. That's a question mark. God said, "Behold, I am his son. Thou art my sister. Hear me, then, in our Father's name. I have here a harvest of 420,000 million angels brought up out of the earth, pure and holy for Jehovah's emancipated kingdoms." Shuwinista said, "In his name let them answer before me, that I may witness their wisdom and power sufficient to dwell in all purity. My Father and I are one. My hosts have crossed the Nirvanian pastures. They no longer feed on the substance rising from below, but on the light emanating from the Etherian realms above." God said, "I know thou hast provided me, O Jehovah." Then here responded the host of brides and bridegrooms, saying, "By faith I know I am safe in thy kingdoms, O Jehovah. Take me to thy emancipated worlds. Give me scope and power and wisdom for greater works." Then followed the full ceremony in the usual way of the third resurrection, and when it was completed, the which had been witnessed by Cpenta-Armij and other chieftainesses and chiefs above, who were at the feast of the Ark of Spita. And when God had said, "O Jehovah, give me crowns for thy sons and daughters, brides and bridegrooms for thy Etherian worlds," there were cast down by Cpenta-Armij and her host 420,000 million crowns, and they alighted on Jehovah's brides and bridegrooms' heads. And now God turned to Thel, who was to be his successor for the next 200 years. God said, in Jehovah's name, to thee I bestow the crown of earth and her heavens, and to thee also do I bequeath the triangle, symbol of these regions, and the inqua, and the trident, and the latter being new in these worlds, and symbolical of the ark of Cpenta, and the interpretation of the trident shall be the three lights, Jehovah, his son, God, and the star and the mortal soul, emblem of resurrection. Ain't that interesting? I'm thinking about all these different religion emblems and stuff like that. Okay. The three lights, Jehovah, his son God, and the star in the mortal soul, emblem of resurrection. Thel said, in thy name, O Jehovah, will I be God of earth and her heavens till the next rise of Dan. Be thou with me, O Father. Thereupon he that had been God laid the crown and jewels on Thel, saying, Hail, O God of earth and heaven. Hail, O God of earth and heaven. Hail, O God of earth and heaven. So remember, Jehovah is the great spirit, who we call Yah. God is always the God of the heavens over the earth for a period of time, right? Just make sure you remember the two, right? They are not the same. Thereupon, verse 25, thereupon he that had been God laid the crown and jewels on Thel, saying, Hail, O God of earth and heaven. Hail, O God of earth and heaven. Hail, O God of earth and heaven. Thus ended the ceremonies. He that had been God descended to the foot of the throne and sat down. And then God, who had been Thel, came down and took his hand, saying, Arise, O God, and go thy way. And he rose up and prepared to depart, for now had the ceremonies lasted one full day. Cpenta-Armij, seeing it was finished, signaled the host for the close of the festival with her Aravagna, passed over and above the fleet, and gave Chuin-Ista, the commandress, the sign, whereupon the ascent began. The tens of thousands of millions of angels entered their respective places. The music of the senars and of the trumpeters sounded and resounded to the distance of 100 worlds. Upward rose the fleets, downward fell the showers of flowers and perfumes to those left behind. Higher and higher, the great world of lights, higher and higher, till soon they passed beyond the earth's vortex, the boundary Chinvat. End of the book of Cpenta-Armij, daughter of Jehovah. That was an amazing book. That was an amazing book, y'all. Look, and I just thought about something too. I just thought about something. You know how I forgot that boy went out there. Jonathan, you be scaring the crap out of me. I forgot you went outside. Who's you out there doing yoga? Oh, okay. All right, so I just thought about it. When we have funerals or going home celebrations, people always leave flowers and stuff, right? I think it's a part of the ceremonies and everything. That's the first thing that came to mind, right? They rising upward, and although they're not leaving the flowers, we're bringing the flowers and symbolically, right? The last verse said upward, and we've seen this every time they have a resurrection. There's always flowers that are left to those that are behind, right? Upward rose the fleets, downward fell the showers of flowers and perfumes to those left behind. Higher and higher the great world of lights, higher and higher till they soon pass beyond the earth's vortex, the boundary Chinvat. And that is our reading for today, beautiful people. I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I did. All right. So now, since that was the heavenly account, tomorrow when we come back, we got to go all the way back to the beginning. No, just to the beginning of the book of Cpenta-Armij, which is found on page 263. And now we got to go through and read the earthly account, which is called the first book of God. So remember, if you have the Oahspe, when the book begins to split, you always go through and read the entire book that's on the top, because that gives you the heavenly account of what's happening. And after you do that, you come back here and then you start reading the book that's on the bottom, and you do the same thing. You read that all the way through to the end. Sometimes the heavenly book is longer, sometimes the earthly book is longer. We're going to actually, I'm excited to get to the portion where it talks about what we all know, the Exodus, right? So it's going to give us the heavenly account of what was happening while the Exodus was going on here, right? At least what we see in the Bible. And some of that stuff, you're gonna see the changes in it, and some of the things that we didn't know about, or things that was removed, some things that was added. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get to it. But yeah, that's gonna be really, really good. So tomorrow when we come back, let me put my page number. We're gonna go all the way back to page 263 and start first book of God. That's what it's called. All right, and we're just gonna do the same thing. And that's actually, first book of God is actually longer than the book of Cpenta-Armij. Oh yeah. This was I was looking for the other day, and I was trying to find it when I was talking about America. When it's talking about Geechee and all that stuff, it's chapter 24. I gotta put this in here. Chapter 24 in the first book of God, the first Bible of Gautama, America, being of Iwata, a man chosen by God for the children of Gautama. Right? So we're gonna learn about some things. I gave y'all this chapter before. I told y'all to go read it. Talks about the Middle Kingdom, like Panama, then Tennessee, Indiana, North Ohio, Pennsylvania, Lake Erie, all of them different, everything over here in Gautama. Remember, Gautama is America. North Gautama is North America. South Gautama is South America. The Middle Kingdom is Central America, right? This is how this book, Oahspe, labels everything, which the Bible completely didn't give you anything about America, right? And it got y'all just from here, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, right here, through here. Like, you was with me I was with you for a little while till I started getting more information. Like, something ain't right about this. Something is missing, right? We found missing pieces. Now we're about to fill them in. And some of us are native to Gautama, my people. Don't argue with me. We just bringing out the information, putting it all on the table. And then we decide. Well, we don't decide. At least we get to fill in all knowledge and, get full pieces of the puzzle and get it right. All right. Anyway, beautiful people, thank y'all for hanging out today. It is Friday, July the 8th, 2022, day 153 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. And of the 4-year consecutive day count, we are at day 1,171. Those are the days we have been present without the Sabbaths and a couple little sabbaticals I had to take. We read the rest of the book of Cpenta-Armij, Daughter of Jehovah, which is found in Oahspe on pages 292. We read the last few pages, starting at page 292 all the way to the last page at 301. All right, y'all. So with that being said, remember our poster chart that Oahspe College University emailed to me with the like the lengths of time with different rates, like the Lewis, which is 200 years. I'll post that. I can upload the PDF to I'm gonna just snap a picture so it's in like picture form, because sometimes the forms won't open up. So I'll put it in picture form and I'll just post them as pictures. So I'll post those here in a few minutes on Facebook and YouTube. And I would post it in the comment section for YouTube under the video, but they just don't let you do that. At least right now they don't. So you're going to have to go to the community section and look at it. Facebook, we ain't really got a problem with Facebook. We can post it there in the comments saying in a whole new post. But anyway, that's it, y'all. May you be blessed today as you go forth in truth and understanding. May you apply the truth that you learn to your life with courage, no matter what anybody says, right? No matter what anybody says. Walk in the truth as you learn it. Adjust your life, right? Adjust your life. Even if nobody else adjusts around you and they call you heretics and they say you done gotten off and got into a call, as long as you know it's true, you've tested it and you've proven that it's true. It's truth for your life. Add it to your life and walk in it, because your life will only get better and the Father will honor you and you'll begin to see the blessings unfold in your life. No matter what anybody else says, your life will be the living proof that you walk in truth. I love y'all. And I will see you back here tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.